I mean, it's possible. I mean, this can just go on forever. It's not impossible.
No,
I mean,
it's not.
you know,
Not even close
I mean,
to being
that's
impossible. Yeah.
it's always a possibility. I mean, you never know what can happen with these. So you just got to get the right people to be interested in this. So
Yep. Yep.
it's gonna be good. But I would think now. Okay, I've seen Indian movies sometimes, you know, on TV. I'm clicking around the channels and stuff like that. I mean, all of them seem to be the same theme. There's like a love story going on. There's a hero in there. There's all this.
Yeah.
I love Indian music videos. I love those. Those are great.
The Bollywood films.
Behind
right,
the trees. But I mean, so possibly, I mean, have you gone to India to try to promote this kind of idea or anything?
I've gone
like
to India mainly to do research actually, because the second book is set partially in India. I have online. I actually had a lot of people interested in the book who are from India. So yeah, there's been some promotion in India certainly. In terms of sales, like I'm not sure Indian people read as much as Americans do, honestly. But
that's what I'm thinking. You turn this into a screenplay, and for the Indian audiences there, because again, they have all these Bollywood, you know, type and all hero love story movies and stuff there.
Yeah.
So maybe that could sell over there. I mean,
yeah, it's possible. I mean, this is primarily a crime series, of course.
Right.
So I mean, some might think it's more Western oriented as it is. And second, the new cover of the second edition is a little bit more universal.
got the same actors.
No. It's actually, yeah, I wanted to put it on the screen. We can have a chance. It's actually more like it's a picture of a gun, and like in the background of like an Indian rug, and so yeah, so it's a bit of more of a universal cover, but still intrigues the reader to look at it. But you know, people from anywhere. I mean, I've had people from Germany and France buy this book, you know, online as an ebook.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've gotten interest from all over the world, really. And one of the ways that you can really promote yourself is by going international. You know, people all over the world are interested in you.
Right.
So.
Right. I see you went to Queens College.
I went there for my 2 master's degrees. I have a master's degree in library science, and I have a master's degree in creative writing. So for those 2 degrees, yes, I went to Queens College.
Right, a master's in library science. I never didn't know that existed. Wow.
Yeah, so to be a librarian, certainly at least in New York City, you need to have a master's degree.
Really?
Yes, indeed.
I did not know that. I had no idea. You need a master's to be a librarian?
Yep, you do. It's a requirement, in fact.
So I know you've seen the library lady, but you're not a lady. But usually the person behind, when you go to ask them, you have this book, you have that, or they all have master's degrees?
Well, the funny thing is that, and not everybody, even though everyone working in the library is great, not everybody you actually go to at the library is a librarian. So the people, let's say for example, you go to the circulation desk, that person probably isn't a librarian.
How can you tell the difference now? How do I know?
Usually the librarian will be, you know, behind the reference desk. So basically, if you want to ask for a book, or maybe even if you need help with a computer, although even usually those people have a different job title. But certainly the people who will help you with the books, basically, who will run a book club, who will do programming, those people are librarians, and they have master's degrees in library science, at least.
I did not know that. I didn't know you needed all that. That's you know, a master's degree. Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
And for academic libraries, especially in the CUNY system, but really any academic library in New York City, you usually need 2 master's degrees, which I have. But you know, for a lot of institutions, that's a requirement. So, yeah.
I learned.
You wouldn't think so, right?
I didn't realize that. I guess it's more than than I realized. I just you got to be more tech savvy now, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean you got to know that stuff too.
You got to know the Dewey Decimal System back in the day. I don't know about that. That's still.
You still need to know that stuff.
You still need the Dewey Decimal. Still know that stuff.
Yeah, I mean public libraries are more or less now a community center. I mean it's a library / community center, so it's a community library. Certain public libraries, but yeah, I mean we still have books. We still have everything.
Do you do book readings at your library?
Yeah, I've done readings at several Queens libraries.
Have you been to the Flushing Library, the big one here?
I haven't done one at that particular one, but I've done one at Central Library, which is in Jamaica.
Right. I used to go there as a kid to do my research, because they were
me too.
Because they were the ones open. I used to go down to the lower levels, or they had to get things sent up in a tube. That was back in the day, because they were only open on. They were the only ones around open on a Sunday. So if I had to do a
Mhm.
report, I would go to Jamaica there to
Same thing when I was, I actually went to the Bronx High School of Science in high school, and I would come there, either after school or on the weekends to do my research. So, yeah, same thing.
wow.
So it's kind of funny that I ended up working with the Queens Library, but yeah, I utilized it as a kid. I left Frank City with my first branch. I went to Queensboro Hill, where actually it was the first place I worked when I first became a librarian. And yeah, I've been all over Queens, so
Yeah.
and I learned a lot about it, more about it even. So
Right.
growing up, yeah.
I haven't been to the library in like a really long time, and my daughter, she actually reads. I don't know where she got this. I don't know where she. She's like the oddball of the
Whoever
family.
created such a concept.
She actually reads books. She had me, was it last week or the week before? She asked if I could return these books for her. And I haven't been to the library in a very, very long time. I should be there more, I guess. I don't know, but it's. I watch movies, but anyway. So I go there, and apparently there's a whole machine just put on a conveyor belt.
Yeah, now it's all, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's all,
I didn't know this. All this it's like the Jetsons. I didn't know what was going on here, man. This is nuts to me.
Exactly,
I don't have to wait online to give it to the lady at the desk, or she got to. It was crazy there. All the libraries are like that now.
Yeah. They all have automated systems in terms of check in and check out. But usually you will need someone to help you with that process.
I don't know. This is like amazing to me. I didn't know
but
anything about that.
we all have the latest technology, and yeah, it's all automated in that sense.
Well, enough about libraries. You're here to talk about your books now. Now you have a second book here called Good Americans. Good Americans. This is not a murder mystery. What is this one
It
here?
is not. It is a short story collection. Most of the stories are very gritty, though. They often delve into dark subjects, but each story kind of delves into a different aspect of American society. A lot of them are set in Queens. They're contemporary. Some of them are set in the American South. Some of them are one of them is even set internationally. But it's all about different types of Americans and how they engage with the world and with each other. And
Well, I'm looking here. Can I just read a little bit on the back here?
sure.
I want to read a little bit to you on the back here. All right, these are some of the stories in here. An Italian-American racist receives his comeuppance. You don't hear that word a lot. When's the last time you heard the word comeuppance?
I guess I just read too much.
You don't hear that anymore. That's like something from way, he got his comeuppance. Anyway,
It's funny because that in that story, that guy, the Italian-American racist, is like this guy kind of looks back at the 50s and it's like, that was a great time, And so like that's the story is about. It's kind of like old Queens meeting the new Queens.
don't hear comeuppance anymore. You don't hear. Anyway, he receives his comeuppance from a ghetto Hispanic teenager. These are just some of the stories going on here. What's another one here? A scarred white war veteran stalks a black stripper. An ambitious Midwestern journalist pursues a mysterious Indian American lawyer here. So these like they're not Twilight Zone type short stories.
No, it's not science fiction. I would say it's a mix between literary fiction and crime fiction. They all have kind of like a conflict of worlds, I would say. Like in that story, the first story you mentioned is kind of like an older, like basically white gentleman who's looking back at the good old days, how it was back in the day, when everyone had honor and community and stuff like that. And then he kind of had this relationship with this kind of street smart Hispanic teenager, and so it's kind of this like collision of worlds in a certain sense, and that happens pretty much every single story, and so you really kind of get a picture of what Queens and America is like right now, and the different kind of conflicts that we have and are emerging.
And again, how much personal research did you put into that there? Because I'm reading about the strippers, and how much did you actually put into that there? What's?
I mean, again, it's always I think William Faulkner is probably my greatest teacher. Experience, imagination, and observation. It's always these three things, but it's never a perfect formula. It's the things you experience in real life. It's the things people tell you about. It's the observations that you have. I mean, like for example, the story about the Italian-American guy. I mean, basically when I was working at Queensboro Hill Library, I went to like the pizzeria nearby, and one of the guys was like, talking about how there are no more Italian, shops in the neighborhood or something like that, and that kind of sparked this idea of having this guy who, looks back at the good old days and stuff. So it's like this the old culture meeting the new multicultural reality. Um, and so it's always, some things are things you kind of observe in full, and other things are sparked by a small image or a small observation. So it's always a combination of things. I can't really give you a perfect formula
Right.
for how it's constructed, but yeah.
Gotcha. Now, just curious. I mean, did you actually talk to Italian Americans, old guys, about this, or you talk to the veterans on this stuff here? I mean,
it's not like I do in-depth research in terms of like I have to talk to an Italian American guy, I guess, perspective.
no, I don't know. I mean,
no, but I mean,
maybe
yeah.
Well, like if you went to like Corona now, which is no longer Italian, like it used to be an Italian neighborhood at one
Yeah,
time. Now you
yeah,
just got one
definitely.
little section there, that little area. You got
Right.
the bocce ball courts and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought maybe
Yeah,
go over.
I walked it sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, maybe talk and talk to the old guys there.
Yeah,
What it was
no,
like
I
back
mean,
in the day or something like that. Yeah.
No, I've definitely hung out at the bocce ball courts,
yeah,
no question. And and I'll listen to people talk, and I'll, it's not necessarily that I have to actually talk to a guy and be like, what do you think? Like in
Again,
an
I
official
don't-
sense, but
yeah.
certainly, yeah. I mean, I go around in society and I see what people say, what people think. I do talk to people. I meet
Right.
people on the street. I talk to people all the time.
Yeah. Again, I'm just looking at how people get that. Again, I don't
Yeah,
write books.
no.
I don't know how people
Right,
get that
right.
inspiration
No,
or research.
it's a combination of things. You can't
Right.
pin it down to one thing.
Now, is that your most recent thing you've written? Or
No, the most recent things I've written are the 2 sequels of this book,
okay,
and I'm working on the stories for the sequel of this book. So this is actually a series of short story collections
Right.
called The Human Tragedy, and so the second book again will be a collection of stories that will be about contemporary America and this collision of worlds, mainly set in Queens, but also elsewhere, and hopefully we'll delve even deeper into a lot of the issues that are going on right now.
okay. Which book is selling more at this point? Would you say? I mean, I'll be honest with you. To me, this
Yeah.
one seems more interesting because I like the short story format there.
Right.
So I don't have to be entwined and dedicate the whole. I can just read 10 pages. I don't know how long each story is. 10
Yeah.
pages, 20 pages maybe. Then I'm done. I can rest and do that. So short stories to me would be a better fit. But which one is the bigger seller?
In terms of sales, this one was initially the bigger seller,
Okay.
but this one has kind of caught up. And this one is very critically acclaimed. It's got a great review from Critics Reviews. It's got great reviews from independent reviewers. It's got a almost near perfect rating on Amazon. So this is very critically acclaimed. This one has a bit more commercial appeal because it's a novel, and it's a very fast read. It's very gripping, and it's a crime mystery and stuff
Right.
like that. So I do think that this series has more commercial potential. That this series has more critical potential.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last one, probably a group of short stories I read was, because I had to read in college, Jerzy Kosinski. Familiar with him?
I am. I've never read a book of his though. Somehow.
Well,
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies at the time when I was younger growing up was something called Being There. With Peter Sellers, about some guy who's like a simpleton, a simple guy,
Yeah,
raised
right,
behind
yeah.
these walls all his life, and the guy who's raising him dies, and he has to go out into the world. He eventually becomes president or something like that.
Yep.
It was a good story, but we had to read a book. I forget what it's called. The Bird Cage. I don't know what it's called. The Gilded Bird, whatever it was. There's a bunch of short stories by Jerzy Kosinski, and I thought some of the stories seemed like weren't complete, but that's what he did there. That's the only thing I actually got the man's autograph once too. I met him
Nice.
once, and it's kind of cool. But anyway, that was the he also committed suicide, but it's later on in life there.
Also a very often.
But he had a book of short stories and stuff there, so those I kind of
Yeah.
appreciate more because I can just
Yeah,
read the story.
yeah. Some
I'm
people
done.
love the short fiction. Some people can't stand it. Prefer the longer stuff. I don't know. It really depends on a person's taste. But
What's the shortest a short story could be? You figure 5 pages.
well, there's
10?
flash fiction, which is like often a page or less.
Really?
I don't really write flash fiction as
I
much.
never even
I
heard
mean,
of that term. Flash
Yeah,
fiction.
flash
Okay.
fiction. It really gained kind of prominence more in the early 2000s, I think. And I don't know. I guess it's still people still write it, I guess, but
Right.
especially as a lot of literary journals started printing, becoming smaller and smaller as people began like reading less and less, and they started the story that they could print but had to be shorter, and so that's kind of one of the reasons why people started writing flash fiction. Also, obviously people's attention spans were lower,
Right.
as well. But my stories tend to be pretty long. I mean. The first story that you were talking about, that story is 60 pages long, I think. It's
Okay.
it's a 3-part novella in here. It's almost 140 pages long. So, but there is one story that's like bit below, maybe 15, 20 pages. So
Okay, that brings us to another question here then. A short story, like I have people who are filmmakers. I ask them, what's considered to be a short film and a full length? Nobody can give me an exact number on the minutes. Like what is it? 45 minutes is still a short story? Is it a short film? Is it 30 minutes or whatever? So a short story book, 60 pages. Could that be considered a regular full book in some areas?
if it's a short story collection,
Well, I don't know. Can you just have an actual novel that's only 60 pages long?
that would definitely be considered a novella. I would say. I don't think
gotcha.
anyone would consider a 60-page book to be a novel, but you could definitely sell it as a novella.
Okay, so what's the minimum of pages to have a novel?
Again, there's no
That's what I wanna
actual rule, but I would say
Or maybe should we go with pages? Maybe
I would
number
say
of words.
I would say
10,000
words. Yeah, words. I would
Okay.
say the typical novel is probably 75,000 words. I would say, which is about 300 pages.
Okay, 75. That's a typical novel.
75,000 to 200,000. 75,000, I would say. So probably between 250, 300 pages is a novel.
It's a novel. Okay. So I'm just
But
trying
there are
to think.
novels that are like 1,200 pages long.
War and Peace. That's a pretty big novel. Okay, so 150 pages, or I don't know, 50,000 words wouldn't be a.
That's kind of in the middle, I would say.
Right,
but
right.
I would say that's a novella. I personally would say that.
When
Yeah.
you count in words, we count things like and the.
We try to do that.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I remember when I had to do reports for school. It's
Right,
you got to
right.
have a 150 word report.
Try to add as many words as possible.
Yeah.
together,
So,
right?
so does count as a word? I don't even know.
Yeah, it does.
It does
It's an
count as a
article,
word.
but it counts.
Okay, it counts as a word though. Interesting. All right. Again, I don't know all the rules on this here.
Right.
Okay, so you in the process now of doing another novel, or you're in the middle of one?
Yeah, so I've written the 2 sequels of that. So
Okay.
now, since I'm my own publisher, right? So I'm doing all the marketing and stuff like that and trying to get everything together. So this is going to have, this new edition is going to have an introduction, a map of Queens, a lot of new features. So getting that together. And then the 2 sequels also, I need to do some editing work on that. I mean, they're all done, but just some final editing. So I need to do that, and then I need to write the sequel for this one. So, that's what's going on right now.
You do your own editing?
In the initial stages, but no, I have a copy editor.
Oh, you do?
Who I
Okay.
yeah. So some of it is DIY. You could do it yourself.